chips, don't let the salad win.
Nicky Thomas, the magic little man, walking. Oh, he scored! Ian Ross! Barnett, and that's a second for Wrexham. Yes! David Davis! What a goal!
Conley! 1-0 to Wrexham.
Oh no, it is, and it's in the back of the net. Andy Burrell.
Williams! Ashley Williams for Wales! What a turn! What a goal! What a goal from Hal Robson-Kanu!
Go and wake your kids up. Something special is happening here tonight. Wales are going into the semi-finals of the European Championship.
Juan Ugarte, Ferguson has definitely won it for Wrexham now.
And here's Mendy! There's that racecourse roll again! Saved! Saved by Foster!
Wilkinson's wonderful Welsh women have made history in Dublin.
Bale steps up over the wall. Oh, yes! Wales have done it! They've reached the World Cup!
Huge moment for Wrexham. Knox against Chamberlain. Knox for Wrexham! And there it is! Red delight! The Janeiro Adran Premier Champions of 2025-2026 are Wrexham Women AFC.
Mullin! It's him again! Champions! Wrexham are promoted!
The first team in history to eat more chips and not let salad win.
Hello and welcome to the Eat More Chips podcast, the official podcast, one of the most recognisable flags in the Welsh football supporters universe. Sad news this week that the world has had to say goodbye to Dolly Parton, but we are joined by these two islands in the stream. Yes, it's Jamie and Das. Gents, hello.
I've been called many things, but not an island in a stream.
and he certainly doesn't work 9 till 5.
He certainly doesn't. No, definitely not. And heard today Tim Curry's died as well. Also 80 years old.
I know, that's the one I was a bit sad about because I just thought, obviously, he's been very ill and wheelchair bound for many years, actually. So there was a fair bit of suffering there.
Still didn't lose his sense of humour, though, because when you look at his stuff that he used to put on social media, he was properly, because everybody thought he was dead already.
Yeah.
And he would say, I'm not dead yet, which was great. So anyway, rest in peace, both of them. And we all know Dolly was a Wrexham fan as well, actually, because he put that video out with the Wrexham scarf. So, yeah.
He did.
Mailbag this week, gents. We've had a couple of emails. And thanks to everybody who's emailed us at eatmorechipspodcast, all one word, at gmail.com. First one from Colin. Hi, Welshtechie. As an American supporter of Wrexham AFC, I just want to thank you for the support and attention you provide to Wrexham women's football. I also sense you are very much devoted to the Welsh leagues. I think we all are on that one. My question is this. As the women's side continues to grow stronger and stronger, do you think there will be a ceiling which they will hit in quality of their opposition in the Adran Premier League, which will result in there being more difficult to attract elite women to join the side other than to access Champions League football? Just as historically Wrexham, Cardiff, Swansea, Newport and Merthyr opted to participate in the English system because of the larger crowds, fully professional compensation and stiffer league competition, do you see Wrexham women wanting to join the WSL2, even if it means a much more difficult access into the European Women's Champions League? All the best. Colin from New Haven in Connecticut. Daz, we've kind of talked about this one before. The fact that Wrexham beat Connaski Nomads 9-2 last week, who are Adran North champions and have been for 2 or 3 years, there's your gulf right there, isn't it? That's the kind of that we know about. What is going to attract elite women to Wrexham at the moment, do you think?
Yeah, it's a tricky one. Just to answer the question, obviously it was the 4 Welsh teams are currently in the English system because they were already in those leagues before a Welsh league was founded. So they are only there by grandfather rights as such. I don't think there'd ever be an invitation to open that up to the women's teams to join any of the WSL because we now have an equivalent. So I think that ship has sailed. Which is restricting. It is restricting. And so to answer your question then, which is, what will attract them? Yes, Champions League football could be it. As much as it was fleeting this year, it was, it is of interest. I think the league is getting better. And so hopefully some players who see it as a stepping stone to WSL2 might use it now. I think maybe the options of going abroad, because a lot of players used to go like to Belgium or Netherlands and stuff like that, and there's some really good divisions there. If we can compete and be at least as good as a WSL 3 and or WSL 2, then I think we've done something well. We'll have done very well as a nation, but it needs money, it needs resources, but also we don't have the fan base, and that's the tricky bit. It really is, because Aberystwyth, Pontypridd, Cardiff Met, they're not going to be able to compete. So it will become very much a split standard. There's and the Gulf. I mean, 9-2. I'm not entirely sure that it'll be as much as that when it comes to Wrexham playing their.
But we have seen
games.
TNS played somebody a couple of weeks ago, beat them 16-0. Cardiff took on Cumbran Celtic, who are in the League South, and they beat them 15-1.
Yeah. And there's two parts to that. One is obviously they are very good. We're talking about the top 3-4 teams now of that division, so they should be considerably better than those. The other part of it is, I mean, when you get to 10, take it easy, girls. I mean, the fact that they just don't let the foot off the pedal is I guess it's showing that they're committed to their team and to their squad and to wanting to make sure they get a place in the competition. When they kind of, some of these teams have got some squads now that actually there's going to be some competition for places. So I do think we will be a very competitive league in the top 3-4. It's just the gulf is getting bigger between the first, that first division and the next two divisions. And unless FAW and or some other sort of system is put in place, the gulf will just continue to get bigger, because it needs that investment. And at the moment, because they've got the benefit of a decent financial stream coming in from the men's teams, Swansea, Wrexham, and Cardiff are inevitably going to be at the top of that pile.
Yeah, let's not forget Merthyr don't have a women's football team for that very reason, because they can't afford it. I mean, Jamie, as Colin says here, moving to WSL 2 level, I mean, we would have to dominate the Welsh leagues for a long, long time before you would even think about that. Although I would imagine the management would like to transfer over, but we have to be careful what we wish for, don't we? Because we took on a WSL 2 team this week and we lost 5-1, and we've got another one tomorrow, and I'm expecting a similar score. So, yes, though it would be lovely to be a little bit more ambitious. Would you want to be, beaten that much every single week?
Yeah, but I don't think that would be, whilst it might initially happen, I don't think that would be the norm, would it? Because I think if you're in WSL setup, I think you then become more appealing to a lot of players. So naturally, your overall squad quality would improve. Granted, it's gonna, you'd have to continue to invest, but the club seem determined to do that. I think it's pretty obvious, isn't it? The club are never going to come out and say it, but it's pretty obvious that is probably the intention, isn't it? Long, mid to long term. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think before that conversation can even be had, there has to be a period of domination of the Welsh League, and it would be sad. It would be sad in lots of ways. I think Daz said it a couple of weeks ago. The thought of Wrexham, for example, not being there. What does that then do to the rest of the league? But unfortunately, it's got a ceiling, hasn't it? It has got a ceiling, unfortunately, and I'm not sure I can see how that ceiling is heightened. We've talked about investment and money. Obviously, that's one thing, but you'd need to realistically, you'd need more teams in the league to make it more competitive. You need lots of things. So yeah,
I think there's two, and I think the example that we can use is the Scottish men's teams. For years, the two Glasgow clubs were being touted as lower Prem Championship teams, and that they should be invited to come over to the English League. And of course, I'm sure as fans of those two clubs, maybe that's of interest. Certainly the owners would have been interested. But then what about that local history, that rivalry, the cups, the titles they've won within Scotland? They wouldn't be winning them as often, I don't think. But it wasn't allowed. It just simply wasn't allowed. So when you're saying you need to play in this league for a while, I don't know how long that would take, because the Scottish system, the men's teams are a perfect example of that they're not interested. I don't think they're not interested in it.
I think the only slight difference with the Scottish team, probably something that's been a little bit of a saving grace for certainly the SPL, is the fact that there have been several teams outside of Celtic and Rangers in the last few years that have become competitive.
Only a couple of years. I agree with you.
Yeah. I think if you go back maybe 10 years, when that conversation seemed to creep up every year, didn't it? Oh, Celtic and Rangers need to be in the Premier League. That was at a time where they were literally dominating. It was them 1-2, no question. They win every cup between them, but for whatever reason, the likes of Dundee United and Hearts and stuff have been much more competitive the last couple of years, and that's made it a little. I
think when Rangers went bust, I think that kind of kind of moved everything out, because then they realised, okay, maybe it's not a financial model. But all very good, all very interesting questions. Thank you, Colin. And Mark James has emailed as well, saying, "Hello, gents. I'm an Australian entering the second year of Digital Dragon membership, and in an effort to support the women's team, I'm also beginning my second year of holding a season ticket at the Rock. That is a hell of an away trip, isn't it, guys? Let's be honest. For the first time when I signed up for the season ticket this year, I was allocated a seat number in the stand. Seems like a waste that nobody will be sitting in this seat during the game, particularly if the weather is sour on match day. So it prompts my question, knowing I won't be turning up at the Rock, will I have the ability to put my seat on the exchange platform for the women's season tickets, or is the exchange platform only available for men's season tickets? Yours online, MJ-live-Oz. PS, has anybody stolen Welshtechie's drumsticks during the halftime break yet? PPS, Daz, excellent lighting as usual. You should do a lighting course for podcasters at university. PPPS, if you have time, can you take an Instagram of the view of the ground and surrounding seats in the stand from my seat, please, the next time you're at the Rock? It may be a few years before I get to see it for myself. So to answer your question, no, I don't think you can put your women's tickets on the exchange, because even though it has a seat allocated to it, it's unrestricted seating at the Rock. You can sit anywhere you want. Makes no difference. So even though you have a seat, and unlike at the racecourse where you have a seat and that's the seat you have to sit in, at the Rock, you sit wherever you want. It doesn't make any difference from that point of view. So that answered that question. Have I had my sticks stolen? No, I keep very close guard of my sticks, because we stole the sticks of the TNS drummer one year during the interval. So when they came back to the drum, they had no sticks. That 8-year-old boy was crying. Not my proudest moment. I'm joking. And he wasn't crying at all. Daz, fancy doing a course on podcast lighting?
I mean, I'd try and work out where to do it, but I'm sure there's an environment somewhere that would be open to that. I mean, I take the praise, but it's hardly the most
40-watt light bulb can do incredible things, can't it? Let's be honest.
Angle in the right way.
Absolutely, yeah. And Mark, I'm going to the Rock tomorrow, so I will. You've given me your seat, a row and number. I will have a look and I'll see if I can take some pictures for you. But as I say, you can sit anywhere you want, to be honest. I mean, with the drum, all the ultras sit at the back on the far left-hand side.
The furthest away from the drum possible.
Exactly, furthest away from everybody, so we don't upset people. That's the idea behind it from that point of view. On other news this week, those of us in the UK have finally had the chance to buy the mythical third shirt, as it was released in the UK today, as we're recording this on Wednesday. According to the Wrexham AFC website, taking inspiration from the cup stand and for the first time featuring the club's official secondary mark, which is prominent in the design of the new stand. The latest kit looks to the future of the famous cup stand, which is set to become one of the city's most iconic architectural landmarks. The new Wrexham AFC 26-27 third kit comes in a soft cream shade and features a polo collar with black sleeve cuffs finished with a fine brick red stripe. It is the distinctive red of the traditional Ruaban bricks, a symbol of Wrexham's architectural heritage, that has inspired the new cup stand, whose facade reimagines this deeply rooted material in a contemporary way. The shirt is enhanced by an all-over embossed graphic featuring a pattern inspired by the perforated surface of the new stand, designed to create a striking interplay of light and transparency. The lattice motif becomes the kit's defining visual element. On the chest, the Macron hero and the club's official secondary mark, featuring the two styled red dragons facing each other with a football between them appear in brick red with a 3D thermoplastic application. The twin dragon mark is used in the new Kop design, wrapped around one corner of the stand, and also features across a more casual range of clothing. On the outside of the back of the collar, the club's foundation year 1864 is printed within a graphic inspired by a brick wall. At the lower back of the shirt, inside the brick red band, a customized silicon tape features the message in English and Welsh: our ground, our spirit, ein Tier, ein Ysbryd. The inner collar, identical to those featured on the home and away versions, is personalized with a red label bearing the wording Wrexham is the name, the Macron logo, and the inscription designed in Bologna, highlighting that every garment conceived is designed and developed at the Macron campus. The kit is completed by cream shorts with a black drawstrings and brick red aglets, whatever that is. The same colour details are echoed on the side of the inserts on the leg hems. The cream socks feature a black turnover with a fine horizontal red brick stripe, while the Macron Hero logo appears on the front above the ankle and the number 1864 on the back. Adult short sleeve versions cost £65 plus personalisation. Jamie, finally, officially launched. You can now buy it at the club shop, but only in short sleeve versions, no long sleeves at the moment. What are your thoughts of what you've seen so far?
I love it when you read the spiel out about these shirts. It sounds like you're trying to flog me like a face steamer on QVC or something.
Somebody has definitely gone AI crazy with that one, I think, because they've just gone, give me a description of this shirt. And it's spewed out a lot of marketing guff.
So the pictures of this, I mean, obviously we've seen it already. It's the worst kept secret in the world. It looks incredible. The only reason I personally wouldn't buy it is because white doesn't really suit me.
Yeah, you eat a lot of gravy and you don't wear bibs.
Well, no, it shows all my curves and it's not really flattering. So I don't tend to wear white a lot. But that'll be the only reason.
It's cream. Yeah,
all right, cream, same difference. But that'll be the only reason why I wouldn't buy it. The actual design of the shirt, I think for me, it is the nicest of the three. I actually went to the club shop on Saturday before the Watford game. The missus had never been to the new club shop in Eagles Meadow, so we went. I kind of wish I hadn't gone because I spent a fortune.
Yeah.
But I got to see the black and the red kits in hand for the first time. And bizarrely, the black one, which I thought I would like, I actually don't really like it. I'm not a big fan of that black one at all. The red one, I actually do like the red one, the two-tone colour, and the detail is really nice. But yeah, this one looks mega. I know the badge has caused some controversy amongst the fan base. Some are very against it, some are quite for it. Personally, I like it. I do quite like it. But yeah, I like it. It looks nice looking shirt. I don't know how many times we'll get to see it, but yeah, it's a nice looking shirt. Just they need to get better at this whole releasing kits situation. Yeah,
I mean, I think it was probably a procurement thing. I think because the fact is that they've limited. I think they just have problems with procurement. I think they just don't have enough of them, so they didn't want to release them until they had enough stock to be able to.
Quite possibly, but you can understand why it's been a bit aggravating, the fact that there have been fans in the States who've been able to not only see it but buy it before it was even released.
Good on them. I'm glad they get something out of this rather than getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning to watch Wrexham games, which I think you're all mad.
Nice, yeah. I do like look at this. I look forward to see it in the flesh, but yeah, it looks really nice.
Daz, as an independent, the only thing for me is it reminds me of a Man U shirt that I used to see a lot, because Man U had a shirt very similar to this.
I think quite a few. I think a few clubs over the years have had. I mean, Liverpool. I was about to say I can remember a Liverpool one that was cream like that. I mean, it certainly looks better on Avis actually than it does on the other guys, if I may say so. But I think it's got a certain classiness to it. I do quite like the simplicity. I'm not entirely sure that the detail of the dimpling or anything like whatever we want to call it is ever going to register on the pitch or anything like that. So it does feel like a lot of detail, but maybe
it's worth an extra point, nice. Because we got dimples on our shirt.
Yeah.
But I do like some of the subtleties. I quite like not the new badge, but the component part of the badge. There's quite a few clubs that have got the third kit have gone a bit more retro or styled it in some way. Whether it's Adidas obviously sort of got on board a lot of that with the trefoil, the proper the old symbol, the 3 feathers or whatever we want to call it, rather than the triangular 3 stripes. They've been doing that on some of their third kits as a sort of a nod to the classic as well. So I think it looks quite good. Agreed. I've stayed away from cream coloured kits, particularly for the reason of spilling gravy and things like that. But I don't know. Yeah, it's good. I prefer the cream than to the whites. There's a few kits out there that are white,
white.
And that's
white
and
never stays white for very long. If you wear it more than 3 or 4 times, and then you wash it, it never really stays.
I did get the cap.
Oh, nice.
With that badge on.
Yeah.
Which I'd seen pictures of this cap.
And it's got it's got like a sheen of the badge behind it as well, like an echo of the badge behind it as well.
Yeah,
it's nice.
It's nice. It's nice that the quality. To be fair, one thing that I will say is that the quality of this stuff is generally quite good. Like even there, like the adjuster for the back has got like an embossed Wrexham logo on it.
Nice. How much for that? How much?
I think this one was 25 quid. I bought a new. The one that I wear quite a lot, the flat peak Wrexham AFC, the Rob one. I bought a new one of them because my old one was knackered. That was 30 quid.
Wow.
I think we need to wait until it reaches the bargain store.
Definitely.
Because obviously I haven't bought any shirts this year because the last couple of years I bought shirts and ended up not wearing them either because it's been too cold because they don't bloody fit me. So I bought a black jacket. Just because
it's not got a white dragon on it, is it?
No, it hasn't.
Was it in the bargain bin?
No, it was 90 quid.
And
I bought a hoodie, which was 30 quid, I think. So
I don't think I've ever spent 90 quid on a piece of clothing ever.
It was a very expensive trip, and what really pissed on my chips was that the woman in front of me in the queue. I didn't hear it properly, but I think she said something along the lines of, "Oh, somebody called for me this morning. I work for FX." And they said this sort of discount for me, and I think she got 25% off. So that was. Did you
use discount with your membership?
Yes, I did. Yeah, I did 10%. Right. Which, to be fair, they applied, but because Mrs. bought a new home shirt and then like a new rain jacket as well. But yeah, between us, we spent
a lot of money by the sounds of it. Yeah, a lot.
Yeah.
Of money.
So
but anyway, thumbs up for that. I mean, Jamie, if you're gonna rank them now, where do you rank 1, 2, 3 for the 3 shirts? Now we've seen all 3.
It's difficult because obviously there is a big difference when you see stuff in hand, but based on seeing 2 of them and now this one in picture, I would say this one probably is my favourite, and then the red one and then the black one. The black one, which I thought would be my favourite. I just don't like it in the flesh. If you look at the finish of the material, there's just something about it. I'm not a big fan of it. Not a big fan of it.
Fair enough.
But yeah, at least this one's out now.
Guess what you're getting for Christmas? A black shirt.
Brilliant. If it's off you, it'll be from 2 seasons ago.
Wrexham will welcome back to the Kairos, where they took on Watford in the EFL Championship. Only one change from the draw versus Cardiff City. That was Ben Whiteman making his home debut for Matty James. Jamie, I've got to ask it. I don't want to. I've got to ask it. No Okonkwo again, not even on the bench. I know we talked about this last week. It's getting very boring, but we have to answer the question. This is a major blow for Parky's plans, surely, for the forthcoming season. If now we're 3 games in, a cup and 2 league games in, and he's not even on the bench.
Well, before we say anything about the team and about Okonkwo, are we going to talk about ticket entry?
Yeah, gigs? I was going to ask about that, but do it now if you want to. Do it now if you want. No, do it now. No, do it now. Do it now.
I was just intrigued because.
What was your experience of the? If it's any consolation, the women's, because I went to the women's game on Sunday, they were using the NFC system, and we were stuck outside for 15 minutes.
So, my personal experience was piece of piss, because we'd been to the club shop beforehand and then walked up to the ground. It was kind of that odd time where it was like it wasn't worth going up to the mice green because it would have been pointless. Because by the time we had a queue to get a drink, they would have had to leave to go to the ground. So I probably went into the ground at about 2:25. So there wasn't any queues. My experience of it, absolutely flawless. Literally, guy standing there, he said, "Well, have you got an iPhone? Touch it there. touch it there, and it literally let me in. Absolutely no bother. But then, excuse me, as we got closer to kickoff, I was chatting to Dave next to us, and you could see looking around the Mold Road stand and the tech end, there was so many pockets of big gaps of seats. I said to him, there must be some sort of problem with this new ticketing thing. And then obviously after the game, I've then seen all the fallout online. But I find it quite fascinating reading a lot of the comments, because there seemed to be the vast majority of people that I saw seemed to suggest that they had no issues with the actual technology. The issues were the fact that people hadn't really read the instructions properly, didn't have it ready on their phone properly, and that's what was causing the backlogs. Obviously, I don't know because I wasn't stuck in a queue or whatever, so that I can't really comment on that. But it's not either way. It's not a good look, is it, when you see after the game queues of people?
The thing is, Wrexham fans are so used to, and I remember, you used to be able to turn up at 5 to 3 and waltz through, show your paper ticket and waltz through. And unfortunately, they're used to that. It's difficult now to say to people, plus the fact is there has been a general transition, hasn't there, where we've gone digital for the last couple of years, but you've always had a thing where you can just flash your QR code and you can pass that QR code to somebody else, or you can have print out a paper ticket, and that's been fine, and you've done that because that's got the QR code on it. This is a completely different technology. This is the same technology as the Oyster card in London. It works by close contact, because basically the app on your phone is broadcasting a code which relates to your ticket, and the receiver on the turnstile picks up that code and then looks through its database, goes, yes, that's a genuine ticket that's not already been let in, beeps and lets you through. That's how it works. That's why, and for Wrexham, this works for them because they can now keep a much tighter track of all the data with regards to who is using what ticket with what membership, when. So it's times and everything. So they can look at patterns with regards to how many people are coming in at what time, to maybe make sure they have more stewards on at a certain time, because people do rush in after being at turf or the mice queen. I get it. I understand it. And I'm the same as you. I've listened to a lot of it. And it's the transition, I think, rather than people. You're always going to have a band of people who are going to say, well, the game's gone. Because of changes.
Has it been that bad? I mean, let's be honest, right? If you're a pensioner and you think like these are the guys that might struggle the most, they've been doing that with bus passes for like 10, 15 years.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So the generation who you think would struggle with technology are not going to be the ones struggling with this technology, I don't think, unless there's something you've got to do to register your, beforehand. And if that's about reading the information beforehand, then just read it and do what it says. I don't understand what the difficulty is.
The problem you have as well is they've reduced the number of staff, because it used to have one person on every turnstile. Now you don't. You have one person who's looking after a number of turnstiles, basically, because you don't need a person on the turnstile.
But the technology should allow that to happen. I don't understand what the problem is.
But
the frustrating thing is and again, I can't kind of comment because I didn't see it. But if it was a case that people were getting to the front with their phone in their hand, ready to blip it, as I did with mine, and the person in front of me did with his, and they get to the machine and it doesn't work, then obviously that is some sort of technological problem that yes, I suppose you're always going to have the odd issue, but en masse you would like to think that was ruled out, that they tested it. But from what I heard, I don't think that was the issue. I think the issue was more to do with the fact that people hadn't downloaded the correct membership, because obviously it's attached to your membership now, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
And didn't realize that, how to, I don't know, but obviously something went awry, because the pictures I saw afterwards of the queues down the tech end and down the Mold Road were crazy, and obviously the fact people missing start games isn't
but
great.
Again, it's getting people used to the fact that people are very used to the fact is that they stay in the turf until 5 minutes before, or they stay in the mice squin until 10 minutes before. Right, that's what they've been used to for the last 30 years. Okay, sadly, those days are gone, because all it takes is if somebody hasn't downloaded the ticket properly, or turns up with a paper ticket, or they're trying to scan something that won't work, and it takes them 3 minutes. You get 10 of those people. That's half an hour. That's going to slow up the whole process. I think there should be some more marshalling by the sounds of it as well on the outside, but that's another matter.
And the other thing as well is the fact that you can understand the club encouraging you to get to the ground early, because they want you to get there early and spend your money at the ground. But you can't really do that at Wrexham.
No.
Because
You
the facilities are just not up for it. I mean, again, I saw a few messages after the game that apparently those e-bars which they've got in the tech end were not working, and you just think to yourself, that's crackers. But I don't know. Like I say, my personal experience was it was absolutely seamless. I walked up to the thing with it ready in my hand. I blipped it. It let me straight in. Absolutely no bother. But clearly, people have issues.
I understand that people are upset, and I understand that some people, missed up 10 minutes and whatever. I get that, but this is not going away. This is going to stay. If it's technological problems, and that was the problem on Sunday at the women's game. Luckily, there were only a few hundred, so it didn't really matter from that point of view. But they will sort out those technological problems. I think the important thing is, maybe the club needs to do more information. As a couple of people have said this week, where's the video? Do a video. I'll do a video. Do you know what, Wrexham? If you're listening to me, I will give my time freely. I will come up and we'll film something.
You've been told about doing those videos before.
Yeah, I know exactly. I'll come and do it, and then you can put it on your website, and I won't charge you anything. I'll get Jamie involved because he's good at acting as well. He can be the grumpy old man who can't get in because he's
I'll be the dude trying to scan in with a gym card. Although there was one important thing which I did just want to mention, because I think it's really important, because we're very quick to criticise the club when they do stuff wrong. But obviously there were lots of reports as well before the game, and for Saturday's game it must have been frustrating, of people trying to transfer their ticket to another member that was maybe a concession or a junior ticket, and it wasn't possible to do that. And quite rightly, if your season ticket, if your ticket value is a full priced adult ticket, you should be able to transfer it to a concession member or to a junior member without there being any issues.
Correct.
And likewise, the facility should be there, that because Danny that sits next to us obviously comes with his daughters. Him and his daughter have got a season ticket. Well, for Saturday he brought his wife with him, and she had a nightmare trying to upgrade that junior ticket. And again, the technology should be there that she can go online. She's got a membership, her daughter's got a membership. She should be able to transfer that ticket from a junior to an adult and pay the difference. It should be seamless. But it not letting people transfer full-priced adult tickets to concessions or juniors, it was piss poor. However, fair play to the club. On, I think it was yesterday or the day before, there was an email which they said they have addressed that now, and you can do that. So fair play. Like I say, we're very quick to criticise. So I think we should acknowledge when they've reacted to something that's not been right.
I mean, again, Friday will be the next big test, because it's another home game, and then again it'll be another sellout. So yeah, it'll be very interesting to see. Anyway. Kakache.
Yeah.
Getting back to him. So if anybody needs an NFC scan, it's him.
Yeah, look, I know I've had a bit of fun with Kakache and the nickname and the crackers and stuff like that, and it's hard because we don't know the full story, we don't know the full ins and outs of it, do we? We only know what we're told, but something doesn't seem right. There's something not right. I mean, how he can come to Wrexham last season without any major injury record and then have the season that he did, okay, you maybe put that down to a bit of bad luck. But then the fact that he was fit to play the 3 games for New Zealand in the World Cup, and then has obviously had a little break and then come back to Wrexham for pre-season, played a small part in one of the pre-season games, if I remember rightly, and then has missed the first 3 competitive games of the season with what we've been told is fatigue calves. That something's just not right. Something's not right, is it? Whether it's a a mental thing, whether there's something going on behind the scenes that he can't, he's not settling in the area or something. I don't know what it is, and I'd like to give him the benefit of the doubt in the sense of, because I don't know the full facts to it all, I'd like to assume that there's no one more gutted about it than him. But the harsh reality and the bottom line is we can't rely on him. He was brought in to be a first choice, starting championship quality left wing back for us. And for the majority of last season, we had to play a midfielder in a makeshift left wing back role because he was unfit. We've had to start the season in the same boat, and then obviously, we can't talk about it too much until it's confirmed. But there's reports today that we're very, very close to bringing in a new left wing back as we record this on Wednesday. So that kind of tells its own story for me of the fact that I don't think the club have got a lot of faith in his fitness. But yeah, it's disappointing. It is disappointing because something's not right. Something's not right behind the scenes. I don't know what it is, but it's something that they need to address. By the look of it, it looks like they are addressing it. What that means for Kakache's future with Wrexham, I don't know. It'd be nice if he could get himself fit, and we've got 2 top quality left wing backs, in a position to fight for / rotate for that position. But at the moment, obviously everybody's lost a lot of faith in him because he's not available, and it
might be becoming a self-prophesizing circle. The more he's getting uptight about it and anxious about it because there's so many questions being asked of him, then the more pressure's being put on him. So the more his injury is getting worse, so the more questions are asked. It becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy, which is the worst thing. And sadly, a lack of information, fans will talk, fans will assume. There's nothing you can do about that. I'm not saying for 1 second that the club have to bring out his full medical history and say this is the situation. But nobody's asking Parky about it. Whenever Parky is asked about it, he brushes it away with, he's got a tight calf, and that's it. Or what's the situation with him? Oh, well, we're monitoring him.
Well, the last couple of presses that Parky has done, without being specific, talking about Kakache, he's cut a very frustrated figure regarding injuries. It's come across. To me, it's come across like as if he's quite frustrated with the injury situation. Now, whether that's a frustration that he thinks these players, are not doing everything they can to get fit, I don't know, or whether it's just a general frustration that he can't believe his luck that he's got key players injured at the start of the season. I don't know, but that's why you have a big squad, isn't it? Injuries are a part of the game. That's why you have a big squad. But I think 3 competitive games into the season to be talking about, Kakache still is a bit of a are the season.
Are you getting to the point now where you say, do you know what? All this speculation, all this pressure is doing him no good. Take him out the roster. Take him out the roster for 6 months. Okay? Just say he's not going to be signed on. Get him away from the squad. Get him under private kind of training and everything else. Get him up to speed slowly, so it takes the pressure off him, so he can actually concentrate on getting through his injuries. And we just accept he's not going to be playing for us until at least January next year, and that's the way it is. And then that will hopefully shut the fans up as well, and that will take the pressure off him. Surely.
It depends what's wrong with him.
Well, yeah, I mean, this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying. We don't know.
If we are talking about something now where there's a mental element to it, and obviously it's very delicate. You've got to be very careful with something, if there's a mental connection to it. But if there's some sort of a mental issue that's having an adverse effect on him, on his physical fitness, then that's a completely different kettle of fish, and that needs to be handled in a very careful way. If we make the assumption that it is just purely a body thing, then I don't, is taking him out of the firing line for 6 months, is that going to fix the problem?
Well, it might strengthen his calves if they're fatigued, if that's all it is. Or it was a thigh strain or whatever it is. It gets him up to speed without the pressure of going, we need to get him ready for 2 weeks. Give him 6 months, give him time,
There just feels like there's more to it than meets the eye, because it seems very odd.
It is odd. We'll never know, will we? Because
fatigue calves, I've never ever heard of that before. A calf strain or a calf tear or something like that. I've never heard of fatigue calves. But,
no, I don't know. I've got those today after playing tennis with my son, so it's possible.
Okay. Well, maybe we should get Daz and Kakache together and talk about fatigue calves.
But obviously, the other change to that team with Whiteman coming in, I was actually really happy about that. I as much as I think Matty James has still got a major part to play as a squad player, I think that is it as a squad player. I didn't think he was particularly good against Middlesbrough or Cardiff, if I'm being brutally honest. And the cameos we saw of Whiteman in certainly the Cardiff game, I really liked. And as it turned out, I thought he was one of our better players in this game. So yeah, I was quite happy with that.
Jamie, I'm going to ask you about the goal specifically, and then I'm going to ask you about your general points about the whole game in a second. But according to the Wrexham AFC website, Amin Nabizada, fresh from his first... Feliz Navidad. Fresh from his first professional goal last weekend, an early sight on goal on 4 minutes, where Patterson saved his low shot. At the other end, George Thomason fired well over the bar on his right foot after a corner was cleared in the 8th minute. Thomason was the provider 4 minutes later when Viner's cross was palmed clear only as far as the left wing back. He played it back inside where Rathbone volleyed goalwards, but just over. Watford, sadly, then were in front just 2 minutes after that. Traore crossed right-footed, and Kiramgard got across his man to head into the far corner. Daz, great cross, great glancing header. If a Wrexham player would have scored a goal like this, we'd be lauding it. But question for you, Dom Hyam was covering him in the centre. Kiramgard basically used him like a rag doll, pushed in front of him, got to the ball with fairly ease and glanced into the far corner. I mean, does Hyam need to do better? Because he is kind of supposed to be the physical central defender.
Yeah.
Should he have done better for this one?
Yeah, totally. I mean, I don't even think he pushed past him. I mean, he literally, he drifted past him. I mean, there was, Hyam had no idea where he was. There was no urgency to attack the ball. You can see he's there waiting for it, thinking, right, I'll clear this away because it's coming towards me. And he just runs in front of him and takes the ball away and knocks it in. And of course, the goalkeeper can't move until the header's done, because a full connecting header means it's going to his left post, and then a glancing header means it goes to his right post. So he can't commit one way or the other. It's too far out for him to claim it. That's not the call. So he's had to rely on his defence. And you would expect a defender of his quality, or certainly his standing within this team, and that's his role, you'd think he'd have done better. But no, there was no shout. So I don't know if we can put a blame on his outside. I can't remember who's on his outside next to him.
It'll be Viner, or it'll be
because Doyle was drawn towards the ball, which is fine. So it was probably Viner. So somebody's got to give him a shout and put a bit of urgency on him. And then he has to attack the ball or get himself in across that line so that he runs into him and draws the foul. It's just too easy in header.
Could they have closed down the cross a bit quicker? Because obviously he was quite far out when he pumped it in.
Yeah, well, yes, he was, but I mean, they've got their defensive shape and they're drifting across because the ball's being played across the back, and there are bodies coming over. And it's a good cross. I mean, I gather he's one of their new players, and that's what they want. They want quality deliveries from him, and that's what he did. It was a really tasty cross. So yes, you can argue he had a bit too much time, but that's what happens. They fizz it across the back, and the team drifts over. Maybe they could have been quicker, but it still takes a quality ball to get it in, drop it in the exact spot where the attacker can attack it. And if Kiefer's seeing that, his eyes are lit up. So you're right. It's an absolute classic.
I think you do have to give credit to the cross and to the header from an attacking point of view, because if we'd have scored that goal, we would have said it was a good goal.
Absolutely.
But the two major elements that highlighted for me issues. You're right to critique Dom Hyam. That was a perfect example of the type of striker he cannot live with. I'm not even going to try and pronounce that lad's name, but that
Kiramgard,
the number 9 for Watford, for the 60 odd minutes he was on the pitch, he terrorised Dom Hyam, and that is Dom Hyam's kryptonite. He's not great with big, physical, mobile number 9s. We saw it with Kyle Larin at Southampton last year. He really struggles on that. He struggled against that lad, and I think you said it, Si, to me when we were talking before the pod, was his default then is to pull shirts and create quite cynical fouls, and there were a few instances of that. So you're right to critique Dom Hyam kind of lack of challenge for the header. the bigger issue for me was the cross, because if you watch it back, it's Broadhead, and again, this comes back to something we've talked about before, which is he's not a number 10, is he? He's not a number 10 that's going to get back and help you defend. And if you watch how lack of, let's say effort, that's not fair, the lack of intensity in closing that cross down, and the poor kind of flappy attempt he made to stop the cross, but he was 3 or 4 meters away, was quite poor. So for me, that was the bigger issue, was stopping the cross coming in, was that neither he or Thomason, who was on that left-hand side as well, neither of them really did enough to try and stop that cross coming in.
Well, Wrexham did equalise in the 22nd minute after Rathbone had done brilliantly to keep the ball alive in midfield. Kiefer Moore got in. The ball found its way across the box to Imre at the back post, who took a touch, kind of stumbled on it, but then popped the ball into the back of the net from close range. Jamie, Danny's first goal in a Wrexham shirt, first of many, do you think? Or was it kind of, he just happened to be in the right place at the right time with no defenders on him? Because he was wide open when the ball got to him.
No, I think I can see him contributing a few goals this season. He had a big chance in that Cardiff game, if you remember, that he missed. In fact, he had a couple of chances in that Cardiff game. One of them was better than the other. He's a very, very offensive right wing back. He's really good, to be fair. The second league game we've seen him now, and he was brilliant again. I do. I think he will contribute a few goals, because I think his natural intention is to try and get forward, and that might mean he's like a spare man at the back, and maybe a little bit of luck that he managed to sort of bypass the defenders and the goalkeeper, but doesn't matter. He got a clean enough strike on it that it went over the line, and that's all that mattered.
Apart from the 2 goals, really, for me watching at home, nothing. I was quite disappointed, really, with the lack of sharpness that Wrexham had, particularly in the second half. I just felt, I don't think Watford had very much either. They, again, another team I felt that were there for the taking. Had a couple of moments of brilliance, but apart from that, they were fairly innocuous. And again, we didn't seem to be able to turn good opportunities into realistic chances. Jamie, you've talked about both the goals there. Apart from that, what was your kind of general impressions on the game itself? And did you enjoy being back at the Stoke Kairas for the first game of the season? Not Stoke Kairas. It's not Stoke anymore. It's just
stop giving them free advertising.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. I enjoy being back at the Pornhub Kairas. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. It was mega. It's always great, isn't it, to start the season, get back to the stadium. There's no substitute for live football, as much as I love watching football on the TV of all leagues and things, and it's great. There is no substitute for watching a game live. I heard a few comments about the atmosphere again after the game online. I don't know. I'm kind of sick of that conversation, to be honest with you. I'm sick of people blaming the ballot for that being the factor, the cause of it, and everything else. When the atmosphere needs to be there, it's there. But As I've said before, I strongly believe that the atmosphere is heavily driven by what's going on the pitch. And when the game isn't hugely exciting, it's going to have an impact on the atmosphere. For me, the headline is we had 12 shots in the game and 2 on target. That tells us its own story. We had a lot of the ball. It was 2 teams, I think 2 teams that both prefer to play without the ball. So it was a little bit of like hot potato. You have it. Oh, no, you have it. No, you have it. No, you have it. And we ended up having the majority of the possession. And as a result, created a lot more chances, but nothing really. We didn't work their goalkeeper. We didn't test their goalkeeper. We didn't create anything hugely meaningful. Again, it was maybe a visual example of why there is talk that we are potentially in the market before the transfer window closes for a creative number 10. Because when Josh Windass isn't in the team, there's a huge difference in quality. as in offensive quality.
Yeah.
Broadhead, I don't know. I don't know what else I can say. I don't know what else I can say about Broadhead. I really, really want him to work at Wrexham. I really do.
Yeah.
But he's never going to have a better chance to stake his claim.
No.
When Windass is out, he is the closest thing that we have in the squad to a natural number 10, and the opportunity is there for him to grab these games by the scruff of the neck, and he's not doing it. So it's just that's frustrating. Rathbone, I don't think Rathbone is a number 10. If I'm being brutally honest, and he wasn't very effective. Obviously, Cadamartri came on as a number 10 in the second half, as did Lewis O'Brien. Ended up being pushed up as a number 10. And as I said to you before we started this pod, that is pretty damning for me for the DKD.
Yeah.
Because you really have to ask yourself the question: if he still can't get on the pitch at that point, then what is going on with him? If that's supposedly his position, what kind of future does he have? Why did we sign him? But yeah, it was just a very frustrating game because we huffed and we puffed, but we didn't test their goalkeeper. Likewise, they didn't test our goalkeeper. I think they had 10 chances and they had more on target, but they were. It's not like Patson had to make like worldy saves. Again, he was very competent with what he did have to do, but he wasn't hugely tested. He had no chance for the header, to be fair. It was just a frustrating game. What you said a minute ago about they were there for the taking. Excuse me. That's a great way to sum it up. They were absolutely there for the taking. I suppose, take the positives out of it. We're unbeaten.
Yeah.
But
two more points now than we had this time last season. Let's look at that. Let's go there, shall we? Let's go there.
The thing is there's no point in kind of losing your shit at this stage. We're 2 games into the season.
No. But it's more. Is this a worrying trend that unless we fix it, either by putting the right pieces in the board in the right places or getting in the right pieces, is this going to be a repeat, rinse and repeat now for the rest of the season if we're not careful?
Quite possibly. I mean, I said it last week. And obviously it'll be next week when we'll have the conversation because the window will be closed then. But for me, we need to wait to the end of the transfer window, and then we'll see what the ambitions of the club are. I think.
I don't think we're going to get the players that people want. I really don't. I think we'll get some, but not everywhere.
We've got a competent, competitive Championship squad at the moment, and if we can add to it, happy days. But have we got a team that can challenge for automatics? I don't think we have, if I'm being honest.
This one was a bit of an opposite to the Cardiff game because we had very little possession, but in the Cardiff game, lots of shots, lots more shots on target. Is Parky literally trying to put chemicals together now, while before the transfer window closes, and seeing what works, or is this just an unhappy victim of circumstance with regards to who we're playing and when?
I think going back to, first of all, when you said, is this a trend? I mean, I don't think you can claim 2 games a trend to begin with. So no. I mean, I think I know why you asked the question, and I think you're absolutely, you know that this is early days, new players finding their feet, as much as the fact that your new players, Imre, for example, is settled quicker than you could that's a dream start, getting the goal. He also gets another shot, pretty much an identical Kiefer Moore on the left, crosses it over, this time actually directly finds the player rather than a bit of luck. And he hits the post. And then your other shot on target was Imre going in the second half on the other side and makes it, so he's by far already a success story. So, if you're trying to work out where all the different pieces of the puzzle sort of fit and whether or not he's got the right pieces, I think that's where Jamie's point is right. You've got a few more days, another week of speculation, but also I'm pretty certain your club's going to be fishing, absolutely trying to look for the missing pieces. Is it a worrying trend? No, I don't think it's a trend. I think last time against Cardiff, for whatever reason, whether it was a tactical, a managerial shout, whether it was a team reaction, you stepped back and invited the pressure. I think what was different this time is that Watford didn't seem to be able to do that, push the pressure on. So you didn't have to sit back. You didn't have to. I think, the dominance was you were clearly the stronger team in terms of possession. There were moments I saw, I've only seen the highlights, but there were moments. O'Brien has a chance. There's a couple of others. I think Barnett plays a few through as well when he comes. So I don't know. It was. There's plenty there in game 2 of the league for me to say still finding their feet. Yes, it's a shame that against a team that probably if you played them in 3 weeks' time, you'd have probably won this comfortably, and then you'd be sitting there with 3 points rather than just the 1 point. But you've got to play somebody at this early stage. You've probably got a couple. Your next. But one test is probably the toughest one coming up, really. And that's when you're a proper measure of how well you're going to be doing in this league, I guess. And if Jamie's prediction is not pushing for the automatics, but pushing for playoffs, then, a results against Birmingham and seeing and measuring yourself against Millwall is actually going to be quite an interesting tell. But again, we're still only 2 games in. Even then, it'll be 3rd and 4th game in. I think if we're still talking about this after 5, 6, 7 games, then obviously that is worrying. But there's only so much you can do about it. I think the reason why everybody gets so het about it is that you still have a chance to react as a buying club, as a club to be able to hopefully entice. But there's a lot of good players out there, and there's a lot of good teams, though, and a lot of good teams can still, you are not the draw that you were when you were in League 2 or League 1. And so now it's like, okay, Wrexham's a good option, but so is Millwall, or so is Southampton, potentially, or some of those bigger clubs. We haven't talked about how what the other teams are doing in the league at the moment, but Charlton's a bit of a surprise package, and they seem to be doing really well.
Absolutely,
we'll talk about that a little bit later, perhaps. But there are teams in there that could draw interesting and invite players. I guess it's wages at that point, and then it then asks the question: what is Wrexham prepared to spend?
And also, let's use the Daz glass half full analogy. Look at West Ham, look at Burnley, 2 clubs that everybody was expecting to absolutely dominate this league, and they can't buy a win at the moment. They're under a lot more pressure than we are. We're not in serious trouble. I think just fans are a bit disappointed because I think they were expecting a bit more of an explosive start. But as you rightly say, transfer window's still open, and we'll wait to see what happens next week. Now on Eat More Chips podcast, it's time for today's newspaper, tomorrow's chip paper, where we catch up on Cymru and Wrexham football news. First up, just as we wrapped up last week, a couple of Wrexham players went out the door. Ryan Barnett joined League One side MK Dons on a season-long loan. Barnett, 26, signed for Wrexham from Solihull Moors in February 2023, making 112 appearances, alongside being one of 10 players to secure back-to-back promotions for the club. His strike against Forest Green Rovers in April 2024 saw Barnett boarded Wrexham's goal of the season. And in the following April, he was named in the 2024-25 League One team of the season. Having played a key part in all 3 promotions from National League to the Championship, Barnett made 12 second-tier appearances last campaign, alongside a further 6 outings across the EFL and FA Cup. And then, in a final will he, won't he saga, Arthur Okonkwo has joined fellow EFL Championship side Charlton Athletic on a season-long loan. Following the initial loan spell with the club, Arthur Okonkwo signed permanently for Wrexham in June 2024 and was a key part of the squad to secure back-to-back promotions to the Championship. He has made a total of 121 appearances for Wrexham to date, keeping 46 clean sheets, and was named in the 23-24 EFL League 2 team of the season. Daz, Ryan Barnett first, great player, but not quite good enough to make the team at this level, do you think? Is that why he's kind of gone on loan down to MK Dons?
I mean, it's a shame because obviously you don't get to make it to the team of the year in the 24-25 season in League One without being considered, the best, one of the best in that division. So it shouldn't be too big a leap to go into the Championship. Now, whether or not that leap is harder because everybody around you has also changed and improved, and the standards around you, so he's not getting necessarily perhaps the minutes that he would have wanted. And yes, he seems to have been. I don't watch the games in the same way as you do, but he seems to be coming on more as an impact sub or some sort of change up at various times. And I don't know what he offers more. If you're thinking about bringing him on at a key point in a game, I think he tends to be more of the same or stabilizing. It's what I sense. You might feel differently, but there's clearly a level shift. Or certainly the faith that the management have in him to be a starter, a key player, seems to be questioned. And going on a loan move that seems to make sense, and makes sense for him anyway, because he's still what is he? He's sort of peakish, 26, 27 years of age. What is he?
Something like that, I think. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah,
sense,
it's kind of at the point in his career where he needs to really make the move that he wants to do, or he wants to be playing consistently. He wants to be able to, but he's never played at this level before.
No.
So it is a tough expectation. I mean, he was a good servant in that way and a good option, but if your ambition is greater than that, and you guys have talked about the number of positions that need updating and stuff like that, this is one of those that constantly gets into the conversation. So it'll be interesting to see how he fares. Obviously it's a step back in division. For you, or for him certainly, maybe a lower standing championship side might have been an option, to keep his quality up, to maintain his standards, and hopefully if he did come back then well practiced. But I think this is it'll be a telling season for him now.
I mean, Jamie, I want to ask you about contracts in a second when we talk about Arthur, but loaning him out, is he really going to loan out and then come back and Parky's going to go, great, now straight into the first team in the championship? No, he's not, because he's not done it at this level. He didn't do it last season. So why are we loaning him out? Why don't we just say, well, let's just sell him? Because he's surplus now to requirements.
Because I think it's another example of my take on it is it's another example of a player who's been given a lucrative contract for the level he was at when he got it, i.e. League 2 or League 1 when he got his last contract with us. I think he was on quite a lucrative contract for that level. And as a result, trying to get somebody to take him for a fee and cover what his remaining year of his Wrexham contract would pay him is probably unlikely. So I think the club have to look at it and say, well, if he's not going to get anywhere near our first team, if we can loan him out and cover 60% of his wages, and the loanee club can cover 60% of his wages, then that's better than Wrexham having to pay him 100% of his wages for the next 12 months and him not being able to be named in the squad. That's the only that's the only reason I can think of why it's a loan and not a sale. That's the only thing I can think of.
And Arthur also goes out on loan for the season with only 12 months left on his Wrexham contract, Jamie. This is almost a despair, this, really, from this point of view. I mean, it looks likely now that he's going to go out for 12 months at Charlton, going to leave, he's going to come back with his contract expired and leave on a free transfer. Now, we didn't pay anything for him, so we've got our value there, right?
I suppose you could argue that, but I think it's poor business by the club. Look, we had the conversation when Patterson signed about Arthur. I hope it doesn't come back and bite us in the arse, to be honest with you. He is a very, very good goalkeeper. Would I have been happy for him to stay and be given the chance and the time? Yes, I would. But that's not the decision that Parky and the football club have made. Fine. And like I said last week and the week before, whatever my thoughts or anybody else's thoughts are, we can't be constantly comparing Patterson with Arthur. and we've got to get behind Patterson. That's our number one.
But it would have been better, surely, to have Patterson and Arthur as 1 and 2, rather than Danny Ward, who is coming towards the end of his career, because then you can have a duet who can take us into the future. It just seems to me that we've... I mean, I could be wrong, but it just feels like Wrexham scored a massive own goal. No pun intended on this one.
You're right, but that's working on the assumption that Arthur was happy to be to not be a number one. For all we know, he might, one of his stipulations might have been, I want to be guaranteed number one. I'm not saying he has done that, but we don't know, do we?
I mean, and let's be honest, the way he was treated, Daz, towards the beginning of the season last season, where Danny Ward was put in, even though apparently Arthur was told that he was going to be number one, and then with 5 games to go, he was replaced again by Danny Ward when Danny Ward came back from his injury. You're not surprised, really, that Arthur's going, well, do you know what? I'm off.
Yeah, but I mean, as much as Arthur's been integral to a lot of the success at the club over the last couple of years, no position is a guarantee, and the goalkeepers is the one most, it's because only one player plays it at any one time. It's, you can have a couple of defenders, a couple of midfielders, you can swap and change in options. Goalkeepers, there's one. You have to choose one. Has he merited? I mean, it's interesting though, listening to you guys there, because Jamie, you said I'd like to have given him some more time. Time is one of those things that we've just been talking. Two games into a season, are we not, firing on all cylinders? So, players themselves are probably the same as you guys, going, we want to be achieving more. So can you afford to give players time? And as much as we know what Arthur can do, and on his day, he is excellent. He is a very good goalkeeper. But I think I've heard you guys say too many times, and certainly the games that I've watched, where there have been moments where his consistency levels have dropped. I'm not saying he's poor, and I certainly wouldn't get on any bandwagon that said that he's not good enough, but his consistency has seemed to have come into question. Now, one of the things that your 10 million hopefully is now bought you is a goalkeeper that has been recognised for a bit more consistency and can be the difference between a playoff final and winning it, because we know he's been there and done it. So yes, you could be gracious and give him that more time, but I wonder if everybody at the club, and certainly all the fan base, would want to do that. And I suppose my question is to the majority: £10 million for arguably a Premier League level goalkeeper, versus giving the generosity of time to a stalwart, to a faithful, servant of the club. I think most people would take the £10 million goalkeeper and then expect that level shift as to be first choice. And so I get why the club have done it. Now, going back onto your business sense, whether or not they should have just offered him a sale, put him up for sale and get something for him with 1 year left on his contract. Maybe they did try and ask him to stay to be number 2. Maybe they did hold out on the contract because they didn't want to tie themselves to somebody who they then would struggle to offload.
But the thing is, even if you'd have offered clubs him at a discount rate, say $1 million, he's worth more than $1 million. Why couldn't we sell him for $1 million? Are clubs really kind of going, well, we're not going to touch that?
No, but I wonder if there are plenty of clubs around you who have all got a goalkeeper that they believe is just that marginally better, more consistent, whatever they've spent money on already. Wherever he goes in around the Championship, I would imagine he's still going to be number 2 to a good number of those clubs. The one club that he has managed to potentially have got was one of those teams near the bottom, one of the ones I predicted to be struggling for league status in terms of next year. So they've got aspirations, and actually maybe they have now just simply boosted their ranks. And he played, didn't he? This weekend.
Yeah, he did. He did really well against West Ham.
So, and that's not to say he wasn't going to play well, because he's upped his game. He wants to show. He wants to prove to people, I believe I deserve better. I wonder, if we're talking about trends and patterns earlier, what will his pattern look like in 5, 6, 7 games time? Will he remain as consistent and as reliable for Charlton?
The biggest frustration for me is more the business side of it than the player side of it. We could debate till the cows come home his ability and potential and all that. I do rate him, and I think he will get better. It's a valid point about giving him more time. I'm not against the decision the club's made, and like I keep saying, I'm more than happy to say, good luck, Arthur. I hope you smash it out the park. You know, I've got no ill feelings towards you. As a club, we've decided Patterson is our number one, and I am all in on him. Happy days. The thing that I'm more peeved about with the Arthur situation is the business side of it, because it highlights something that off the field and for this whole sustainability thing and going forward, we have to get better at. We have to start being in a situation where we can start gathering some fees for players that are no longer part of our plans, rather than giving out these willy-nilly contracts to players that then seemingly 3 months later fall out of the plans and then are end up on these long contracts.
But the club may have made the money though, because of course you can go on loan and they can pay the full wage. It's not always a shared wage.
You're
Sometimes
right.
It's the full wage. So say now they've saved the entire year's wages on Arthur Okonkwo's contract. That is as good as earning what?
But I can't believe for 1 second that Charlton Athletic are paying his full wages. Not for 1 second, because
it should be. Surely, if they were prepared to pay his full wage and you know you're going to lose him in 12 months for a free, why wouldn't you just let him go? Why wouldn't you just, and then he's completely off your books? Because at the moment, he's still a Wrexham player. I suppose there's pros and cons. I suppose technically you could argue that if you needed to, you could call him back. Yeah. I suppose that's one thing. But then likewise, if he goes and, God forbid, but if he goes and gets a serious injury, he'll have to come back to Wrexham. And, you know, Wrexham will have to deal with I say deal with that. I don't mean that in a horrible way, but
no, but
we'll have to deal with it. I agree with you. So I don't think there's any way in hell that Charlton are paying his full wages. I think this might be a scenario where it's another player that's on quite big money, and that's probably why we struggle to move him on. There is also the factor as well. You've got to remember that Arthur holds quite a solid hand in this transaction as well. From his point of view, from a financial point of view, him going out on loan, so he gets to play a lot of games this season, get paid the full amount, however that is made up, whether that's half and half or whatever, get paid the full amount of his contract that he's owed by Wrexham, and then in 12 months' time, he's going to be a free agent, so he can go wherever he wants and get a huge signing on fee, because the club where he ends up won't have to, like we did, won't have to pay a fee for him. So, you know, he's going to be very well advised on that as well. I just think, overall, for me as a football club, to lose what I think we're probably, regardless of what we think of his ability, what we probably are all in agreement on is that he is and was and should be a very saleable asset, and a player we should have got a fee for. It's disappointing that we're going to lose him for nothing. And
you can't escape the fact that in the last 5 years, we've only sold one player.
Yeah. I know, but more and more clubs are getting caught out by the inability to move a player on, because they either sit still, they buy their time, they're savvy, whether or not they're on too good a wages in the first place. But, you know, it's happening in the Prem. You know, we I'm just going to use Liverpool. You know, Ibu Konate just went to Real Madrid for nothing. I mean, you know, that's a big club with a lot of money who could potentially have paid a decent wage, a fee for him, but he saw out his contract. You know, whatever the reasons are. You know, clubs are losing players like this all the time because they are jostling for positions, and it is hard. And I think you're right, though. They probably looked at suitors to buy outright, and maybe just nobody was prepared to go that far for whatever evaluation they had for him. And I do think you're right. I think you've got a lot of players there on wages because they wanted to secure them at the time when you were in the divisions where you had aspirations. Now you're at the stage where it's all plateaued and leveled out, and I think that's going to continue to be a problem.
Wrexham women took on WSL2 Watford at the Rock on Sunday and lost 5-1. Wrexham's goal came from a curling shot from Faye Knox, palmed away by Cymru goalkeeper Safia Middleton-Patel in the Watford goal, and then a diving header from Natasha Thomas on the rebound ball straight into the net. Wrexham held Watford to a 1-1 until at least 20 minutes from the end. Wrexham then started to tire with the relentless pressure from Watford. Tonight, we recorded this on Wednesday, but tonight is in Thursday. Wrexham take on WSL2 side Wolverhampton Wanderers, kick-off 7:30 p.m. BST, which will be streamed on the Wrexham AFC website. Formed in 1975, they were promoted to WSL2 this season for the first time ever via the promotion playoffs from Tier 3. Jamie, another tough test for Wrexham women, but great preparation for the Adran Premier to come, which is a week on Sunday.
Yeah, I mean, you're best placed to give any feedback on this, because I think you saw it, you were there, weren't you? Because the game, not that I'd have been able to watch it anyway, but the game wasn't streamed, was it, this one? So literally all I know about this is kind of what I've read and what you've just said, really. I mean, I think that the key, or the most interesting thing that came out of it, which is I saw a lot of people who were there all say the same thing, which is, for about 60 minutes, it was a fairly close game.
It was.
And that's interesting, isn't it? Because, you're talking about a level of opposition there that is, with the greatest respect, is probably head and shoulders above anything we're going to face in the Adran Prem. And in the end, whether it's superior fitness or quality or experience or whatever, shone through, and they've ended up getting, a bag full of goals. But the fact that we've been able to be competitive for 2/3 of the game is positive.
Did they make a lot of changes at that point? And was it like their first team came out in the second half?
Yes, there were a large amount of changes in the second half of both sides, and I think that was quite telling, to be perfectly honest with you. I mean, the most notable thing I think about Watford, we have to remember that they are all full timers, whereas Wrexham aren't, and that's obviously something that the General Adran Premier needs to address with regards to that. It was the pace of the game. Watford had a very, very strong press, and they didn't give Wrexham time on the ball. Wrexham would take the ball and they would take 1 or 2 seconds too long, which obviously in the Adran Premier you can do, because you don't have the players who will jump on you and take the ball off you that quick. Whereas Watford, you couldn't do that. You had to know, when the ball came to you, you had to make a 1 second or a 1.5 second decision and pass that ball off. And a couple of times it worked. We were doing some nice triangles, particularly down the wing. But they were just so fast. Their press was relentless. And I think really to hold them to 1-1 up to kind of 60, 65 minutes, I think was very, very impressive by Wrexham, because their other sides would have definitely have folded under that pressure. Lucy Farrell in goal, started in goal. She was really, really good. It's an interesting one, this one, because I think of her and Lizzie Craven, I get the feeling she is going to get the number 1 shirt, because she was very, very impressive. Her distribution, the way that she handled, there were a couple of times where it was 1-on-1. She handled it incredibly well. Some great clutch saves, some great sprawling saves, good handle of the ball. Even when she made a mistake when distributing from the back, where she accidentally gave it to a player, she would always recover enough and get into the right position. So, and she made a couple of very impressive saves. I was very impressed with her from that point of view. I thought I thought Wrexham were very, very strong. I think Katie Barker is morphing into such a brilliant player now. Not that out and out runner striker that we kind of saw last season, where she's always up front and she's always bothering. She's morphing more into a more solid number 10 role, and particularly alongside Natasha Thomas, who has that physicality where she can hold up the ball and get the runners on. I think they're going to be terrifying next season as an up-front duet. We've not even talked about Ava Suckley. Didn't even make it on the pitch on Sunday, so we're not even talking about her. Maz came on, didn't manage to make much of an impact, but it was a very physical game. Watford a very physical side, and I think physically, I think Maz, that's a bit of her kind of weakness, as in she's not as physical as you'd like her to be for somebody who's such an upfront player. But I think the back three that went more to a back four in the second half, I thought that was really, really good. We had a trialist on who was a midfielder. She was playing left back at one point and playing right wing. I thought she was very, very good. It'd be interesting to see whether she makes another appearance on tonight as we're recording this from that point of view. I mean, Watford dominated midfield. That was the one thing for me. We didn't have the presence in midfield that we normally have. Faye Knox was pushed very much more to the side and to the front, and Lily tried desperately to hold things together, but they flooded the midfield. They were just a very, very good side. What you would expect, they won their league and have won up to WSL 2. So I think you from that point of view, but it's still I was very, very impressed with Wrexham and what they did, what they achieved.
Can I ask how Safia did in goal for
superb? I mean, it was unfortunate that the save that led to the goal. It was Faye Knox came in on the inside, as we've seen her do so many times, and you're thinking, well, we know where this is going. This is curling top far corner, exactly where she hit it, and Safia did a big sprawling dive. Full dive, and palmed it away to try and palm it out. Sadly, because she was at full stretch, she couldn't palm it away and round the post. She palmed it flat, so it fell back inside the box. And that's where Natasha Thomas, with her footballing brain, went, well, I'm going to wait here just in case there is a second ball. Second ball came straight to her, and she did a full diving header, which then went straight into the goal. But apart from that, her kind of, again, her possession is really, really good. She can hold the ball really well, which we've seen her for Cymru. She is that kind of valuable 11th player. Her shot stopping ability was great. Her domination was great in the box. I would love to get her in a Wrexham shirt. I really would, because
it's an interesting one though, because she's on the Man U books and has been on loan like every year, sort of like for the last 5 years. So Man U don't want to sell her, or are obviously got plans for her in some way. So they obviously rate her, I think, as a young player. She's 21, 22 soon, and I just intrigued that it's another loan move back to Watford, which she did well with a couple of years ago.
I think she just wants to play, Daz. I think she just doesn't want to be on the bench, because obviously she also has to fight for the number one goalkeeper shirt for Cymru.
Exactly.
So I think she just wants to, because again, because at the moment she is getting, of the 3 goalkeepers, she's the one who is getting more regular football. So she is really putting herself in the driving seat to get that number one national shirt as well.
Yeah,
which is great, and she's still very, very young. But
great.
The nice thing to see as well is that a lot of Wrexham fans obviously wanted to, get her autograph, and there was a lot of groundswell of people who knew the national women's game as well, and knew, because there was the same with Tiana Teza, who also played on Sunday. She was superb as well. She was so good. It's just these players, you look at them and you're going to go, wish I could get him in a Wrexham shirt, but there you go. I mean, that's the way it goes. But very, very impressive. And very interesting to see. I think Wolverhampton Wanderers tonight will be a very, very similar game, and it will be very interesting to see who starts, and whether Wrexham can then push on. And I mean, a draw would have been a major result against Watford. It really would have. And 60, 65 minutes thinking, is it on? But when the changes started happening, and they started bringing on stronger players, and we were bringing on players who kind of were having to feel their way a bit more into the game, not necessarily that weren't up to the standard of the starting 11, just they took a bit longer to bed in and get up to speed, and within that time Watford had scored a couple of goals, so by then you're 3-1 down, and you're then really fighting. But no, well done to Wrexham women, really well. I'm looking forward to watching tonight's game and seeing how they do against Watford. Anyone fancy some chips? Well, that's good, because it's time for the chip shop. Daz and Jamie are alert and ready to undersell their punditry prowess. Let's take a look at last week's prediction, shall we?
We let you have those moments.
Yes, I'm still top, and I've got 3 for 3 so far this season, whereas Jamie and Daz were banked on Wrexham to win, and they didn't. It was obviously a 1-1.
I'm just going to say, I like I said, I shared last week, I missed another bullseye. That would have been. I got to stop calling out 2 scores and going for the wrong one. Clearly,
yeah, absolutely, yeah, definitely. But obviously, at the moment, I'm at the top. 3 games, 3 correct results, 4 points, and then and it is now, right. I listened to Radio 5 commentary coming back from the match on Sunday, where obviously Liverpool were playing Newcastle. And bravo to Newcastle, by the way, for the Kevin Keegan tribute. What a tribute that was. Yeah. Incredible. Yeah. Incredible send-off for the great man. Yeah. And the commentators...
I know they call him Jacquet. I know.
It's Jacquet. So, with that in mind, Daz, Jack Army is at the top with 3 points. And then Full Metal Jacquet is second. 3 games, 1 correct, 2 wrong. And then Windass the league, same, 3 games, 1 correct, 2 wrong, 2 points. But it's still all to play for. I wish it wasn't.
You'll get a nosebleed soon.
I know. Yeah. I'm already feeling a little bit dizzy, I have to be honest. And it's bound to mess up, because I've done this before. I started well, I think it was last season. I started really well, and it all dropped off quite dramatically. Anyway, so first into the fryer tonight, it's Birmingham City. So Friday night under the lights, nothing better. Friday, 28th of August, to be exact. Kick-off 8 p.m. BST. Wrexham take on Birmingham City at the racecourse. This is the third season of the close rivalry versus the Blues, with them finishing 10th in the league last season. In the games versus them last season, we drew 1-1 at home, Wrexham's goal by George Dobson, and away we lost 2-0. So far this summer, Birmingham has spent $7 million on central midfielder Jon Solis from Girona, $4 million on left-back Christopher Lund from Palermo, $3 million on centre-forward Luis Vazquez from Anderlecht, and $2 million on central midfielder Max Bird from Bristol City. Birmingham, though, have had a bit of a tougher start to the season, beating Swansea 1-0 in the League Cup first round, drawing their first two league games of the season 0-0 away at Sheffield United and 2-2 at home to Bristol City, before taking on Premier League Brentford in the second round of the League Cup on the Tuesday just gone at home and losing 6-1. And the chips are done. And Jamie, we haven't beaten Birmingham this century. That's a fact. Last 2 years, played 4, lost 2, drawn 2. Right? However, Birmingham have seemed to stall a little bit since their incredible League One promotion season. Certainly last season and the start of this season. Is this the perfect chance for Wrexham to get a win Friday night at home, playing positive but maybe not taking the chances? Whereas Birmingham, and again, I know Brentford wasn't the perfect thing, but they were awful against Brentford in the Cup. They weren't particularly good against Bristol City either, to be brutally honest with you. Is this our chance to get that first win finally this season and this century?
Yes and no. I mean, the Brentford game, take that with a huge pinch of salt, because I think they made 6 or 7 changes for that game.
6.
Obviously, very much with one eye on Friday. Either way, it wouldn't have done them a lot of good. Getting beaten that badly. I
mean, their defence was awful against Brentford. Yeah, Brentford had such easy goals.
But then that could have, it could have two effects, couldn't it? It could, it could have a negative
effect. By the way, Bradford have beaten Burnley on penalties in the second round of the league. Burnley. Oh dear.
It could have a negative effect, on top of the 2 games that they've drawn already this season and not played, from what I understand, not played particularly well. Or it could have the reverse effect where they, it kind of galvanizes them and they go for the jugular. I mean, it's a tricky one, this. I do feel like we're due a win against Birmingham, but but that being said, they are a very unpredictable team, aren't they? There is this faux rivalry that seems to exist between the two clubs over the last few years. You just know that regardless of the last result they had, regardless of maybe the fact they were off it a little bit in their first 2 games and obviously haven't won yet, same as us, it wouldn't be beyond the realms of possibility that he gets them go in and they turn up and they put in a good performance against us. It's just difficult because we don't know, whether we can find that next gear. We had spells against Cardiff. We were the better team against Watford, but we didn't create a lot. Can we find that something a bit different? It's hard to say. The only one thing I would say is, if anybody hasn't seen it, is that Birmingham Bristol City game, the goal that lad scored for Bristol City. If you've not watched it, go and watch it, because that's the Puskas Awards winner straight away. That is, what a goal that was!
What a fantastic
a backheel volley, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a tough one to call. Before, excuse me, earlier after the Watford game, I was fairly confident, and then despite Birmingham getting thumped in the Carabao Cup, I don't know. It's just the more I've thought about it today, in particular, I can't make my mind up.
Daz, Chris Davis was under pressure last season because obviously the fans didn't feel that Birmingham were where they should be for the amount of money they'd spent the year before. He still managed to keep his job. He's not had a great start this season, as we said. Bad loss to Brentford. Pressure is building. Could a bad result here for Birmingham mark the first Championship manager losing their job this season?
A little bit of context, I suppose. Brentford is still a Premiership side, so let's put that into context. They were always meant to be winning that game. Yes, they put out a weakened side, but I would still imagine most Premiership weakened sides are still arguably going to be stronger than most Championship. I know you get upset. I know that there's something about team camaraderie and all of that helps to sort of generate those shock results, but so it's not a surprise. I suppose the disappointing one would be an opening day draw against Sheffield United. I mean, they won. Then they're a decent side, but it's it was disappointing start to what with all this momentum, and I think they scored. I think they equalised against Bristol with a 90+ minute penalty, which teams do that these days. Nobody gets penalties in the last few minutes of a game and then gets a last minute draw at all. But the reality is they've been underperforming since February. Birmingham. They've had a really bad string of results all the way from February to the end of the season, which is why they capitulated really and didn't really sustain a sort of a meaningful attack of the top of the table last year. So the summer was the moment where you'd think, you said Chris Davis kept his job. Well, yeah, he kept his job somehow, whatever the reason is. The management, the ownership, the celebrity status, and all the people involved with Birmingham have made a call over the summer and have kept that manager in place. I think it's a surprise. I think a lot of us thought that he would have gone after that short, poor run of form since February. So on the basis that they've made that decision, I do think they'll back him. I do think they might back him a little bit. Whether or not they've got the patience of what when the fans start getting behind, on top of you, it's really tough. So whether or not a couple of games where they're still unbeaten as well. If you want to, if you want to put the positive spin on Birmingham's season so far, the same as Wrexham, same as Cardiff, they are all unbeaten. They just happen to be draws. So he will be looking. The team will be looking to make that change. Now, if they do lose to Wrexham, whether it's because of this faux rivalry, whether it's because it's the level of ambition they have, whether or not the investment they put into the team, they think it merits more. So now that's a conversation for the ownership. But I think they believe, unless they couldn't find anybody better. I mean, there's a lot of good managers out there. They might have had ambitions for some big name management, but whether or not they can pull them in, I don't know. But I think Chris Davis has shown previously that he got the job on merit in the first place, but he hasn't seemed to have made that turn into results for Birmingham. So I think on the basis that they've backed him in the summer, the basis that they put some money behind, so they've got some, purchasing, the same as you guys, same as all the teams around you in the Championship. I think they've made a commitment. I think 3 games in, a sacking now would be pretty shocking. I think it would be a big surprise. Again, if they can't turn some of these draws into wins, then maybe the pressure will properly mount up. But I think it was the fall from grace from February onwards last year that has made the fans really annoyed, and they have probably used up all goodwill. And yeah, it will be a tough season for him if he can't start turning those into results. But if they're
2-0 down at half time and you've got the Wrexham fans shouting you're getting sacked in the morning, Birmingham fans will not be happy, and that I think that adds an extra level. I think that it does. If it was West Ham, you kind of go in, it's West Ham. But
I think at home though, I think if Birmingham were at home, this would be a different conversation as well. I think the fact that it's a Wrexham at the Kairas, it just gives them a little bit of grace as well.
Yeah, no, I agree. Jamie, rumours are that Thomason may not play because he might be under concussion protocols after banging his head quite badly at the Watford game. Also rumours, and not rumours, it came from Parky that hopefully Windass will be available for Friday. Probably bench, you can't see him starting. I mean, what any kind of major changes for you with regards to that starting 11 on Friday night?
No, I mean if Thomason is out, unless Kakache makes a miraculous recovery, then the only options we've got are Longman to play on the left. But obviously, that then puts a little bit of pressure on Danny Emery to be able to play the majority of the game, which Parky said that they're still trying to build his minutes up. And
also, the knock-on. Sorry to interrupt you, but the knock-on effect on that is that you're adding more pressure on the defensive work of Callum Doyle, because Thomason and Doyle at the moment are, they're obviously pairing up to defend that corner. Putting Longman in there is then he's with a defensive partner he may not be used to.
Yeah, I mean that unless there's a bit of a curveball, that's the only option I can see that we have available at the minute. Again, like I mentioned before, I know as we're recording this on the Wednesday, there's talk about wing backs supposedly being very close, but even if they confirm signings before that game, it's unlikely either of them are going to play or be involved. So if Thomason is out, you'd hope Kakache is available. If he is, happy days. But if he isn't, then the only real option is you'd expect Longman to play. Other than that, I probably don't see there being any other changes. I think he'll stick with Ben Whiteman instead of Matty James with Lewis O'Brien. Again, I would see him going with Broadhead and probably Rathbone as the number 10s to start. Hopefully Windass will be back on the bench and can get some minutes.
No pre-season and no game so far. Most you can probably play him, but this first one is 10 minutes, maybe 15, maybe 15 at a push.
The thing is, you if he's fit to play, you need to start getting him minutes, don't you? So get him on the bench and bring him on, give him 15 minutes, give him 20 minutes, and build it up from there. Because the sooner the better we can get him fully fit and ready to start a game, the better for us. And then up front will be an interesting one. Again, I think Keith scored that goal against Cardiff. He didn't do anything particularly wrong against Watford, but that being said, he didn't do a lot either. But that's not necessarily a direct criticism, and we didn't create a lot for him. So it wouldn't surprise me if he starts again, or but likewise, it equally wouldn't surprise me if he decides to give Smith a start. But that side, the rest of it, I think pretty much picks itself, unless there's some injuries or something that we don't know about. The rest of it, I think, picks itself.
So time for the salt, vinegar and sauce score. I'll go first because I'm top of the league. I think it's only fair. I'm predicting Wrexham 2, Birmingham 1. I think Wrexham will finally pull the iron out the fire because it's Birmingham, because we're at home. And I think although Birmingham aren't the pushovers they're going to be, I think they're already on shaky ground. And I've not been massively impressed with any of their performances so far. I mean, as Dad said, that 0-0 draw against Sheffield United was tepid at best. And I know it's the first game of the season, but it's not a good way to start. And then the Bristol City one, were it not for that, as Dad said, that last minute penalty, they'd have lost that. And again, Bristol City are not fantastic. So I just think they're lacking. And when you look at the signings they've made, they kind of made their key signings 2 seasons ago to get back into the Championship. I think now they're running out of steam. And I think Chris Davis's time is numbered. I really do. I think he will be definitely near the top of the list to lose their job. So before the end of this, I think by Christmas, I think he'll be gone. So Wrexham 2, Birmingham 1. Daz, what's your score prediction for Wrexham versus Birmingham City?
Really annoying that you went first and said that scoreline. Because I've gone 2-1 every week this week, and I was thinking, right, I'm going to stick with 2-1 because at some point it's going to come true. But I can't move away from it now, because if you get it again, let's just... So on the basis this is a 2-game week, I'm going to go 2-1 as well.
Okay, cool. Jamie, what's your score prediction for Wrexham versus Birmingham City?
I'm going to be really boring, because I was going to say 2-1 as well. So I'm not deviating from it. 2-1. Wrexham.
Excellent. Jolly good. Okay, good. So either we're all going to win or we're all going to lose, and nothing will change. Brilliant. So let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm. And next into the fryer tonight, it's Millwall. It's a Wednesday, 2nd of September, kickoff. So it's a Wednesday night game, not Tuesday, because I thought it was Tuesday, but it's not. It's Wednesday. Kickoff, 7:45 p.m. BST. Wrexham travel to the southeast London to take on Millwall. Last season, Millwall finished third in the Championship, much to the surprise of many pundits before the season started. But they did lose in the playoff semi-final to Hull City 2-0. At home, Wrexham lost 2-0 to Millwall last season, and away, won 2-0. Wrexham goal scored by Kiefer Moore and Lewis O'Brien, and that game was marked by the serious injury to Danny Ward, which kept him out most of last season. This summer, they bought attacking midfielder Mathis Servais from KV Mechelen for £3.5 million. Centre forward Tariq Arconte from Rodez FAF for £2.5 million, and centre back Elkan Bagot from Ipswich Town for just under £1 million. Millwall made a fantastic start to the season, reaching the third round of the League Cup after beating QPR on penalties and Cambridge United 1-0. And in the league, they beat Bristol City away 2-0 and Norwich City at home 3-0. And the chips are done. Daz, tough games at the best of time, even tougher with the start Millwall have had. They were around the playoffs last season, but none of us would have backed them to go up, really. Apart from they just had this fantastic run. However, this season probably the same. People are saying, well, will they, won't they? It's going to be a difficult second season, but they're currently unbeaten this season in all competitions. Are they already among the strong contenders to go up for you, do you think? Because none of us predicted them anywhere near anything in our preseason predictions.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean. I mean, I think the surprises that they've had, the results that they've had in the way that, okay, the League Cup was against Cambridge or something like that. So
second round, yeah, they won 1-0.
So that was a tight game, but otherwise you'd kind of think that they should have done better there. But ultimately, though, in the league, you just kind of think like, well, actually, they had a strong end to the season last year. They weren't necessarily in the running all the way, but first half middling, and then they progressed and stamped their authority on the top half of the table. And they've just carried on, because I've not really clocked whether or not they lost. I think you highlighted some of the new players they've brought in, but I don't know how many they've lost from that team. So I think their lives are sort of an example of that stability that you need, but also you've got to embed new players and sort of bed them into the setup. But I think they surprised us last year. I don't think they should surprise us this year. Although you're right, I hadn't got them predicted. I just thought there were better teams. I think Millwall were always going to be there or there. For me, around 7th, 9th, 8th, 10th. I just think they were nearly going to be there or thereabouts. Just because I thought everybody around them would look like they were buying better or improving, but more players coming in. But I think that that stability has paid off. They've got sterner tests to go yet, of course. But I think they've impressed a lot of people, so we shouldn't underestimate them.
Jamie, Millwall put us to the sword in the last game we played them last season at the Kairos. Can Wrexham get anything out of this game, do you think, with the way that Millwall are currently playing, the way that we're currently playing? Or is it just a case of us battening down the hatches and trying and get that draw?
Again, it's a tough one, this, because everything at the moment, based with what we've seen so far from both us and from them, everything at the moment is saying to me this is going to be a tough night. But look what we did last year there. That was our first win in the Championship, wasn't it?
Yep.
Was at Millwall last year. Nobody gave us a hope there, and we ended up winning 2-0. It wouldn't be beyond the realms of possibility that we go there and it's a masterclass and we catch them on an off night and we sneak a win. It's going to be tough, though. I think they're going to be. They look impressive at the start of this season. They've carried on. They kept the continuity of the way they played the back end of last year, and they've carried it on. I know there's rumours about a couple of their players moving on. We've been linked to one of them. So we'll see. But for this game next week, I hope I'm wrong, but my gut feeling is I think it's going to be a tough night for us.
So time for the salt, vinegar and sauce score. Daz, what's your score prediction for Millwall versus Wrexham?
Yeah, I mean, it's just because they haven't conceded any goals. I mean, that's the big thing, isn't it? Only Sheffield United are the only other team that have not conceded any goals. Although Sheffield haven't scored any either. So that's dull. But can you score against them? Can you be that first team to score against them? I think you have got the potential. I do think when that you've got finishers, you have got the Emre, the wing play is good. So I'm going to give you some benefit of the doubt that you will score, but I'm determined for a 2-1 score to come good. So I'm going to commit to the 2-1, but regrettably, it's going to be Millwall 2, Wrexham 1.
Jamie, what's your score prediction for Millwall versus Wrexham?
That was going to be my prediction as well. 2-1 to Millwall. I'm not going to change 2-1 to Millwall.
And I'm predicting Millwall 2, Wrexham 0. I think with Wrexham's problems about actually putting the ball in the net at the moment, and the fact that, as you rightly say, Millwall, 2-0, 3-0, two very impressive results against other championship sides. I think we will struggle to get a goal, and I think Millwall will score 2. So I think it's going to be 2-0 to Millwall, and we'll be sent home licking our wounds. So let's wrap those chips up to keep them warm, and we'll review this game in next week's pod. The sands of time have finally run out for this week, so it's time to say goodbye. Next week, we will look back at both the women taking on Wolves and the men battling versus Birmingham City and Millwall, and we look forward to Wrexham women opening their Janeiro Adran Premier campaign at home to Aberystwyth Town, while Wrexham men go down south for the second Welsh rivalry game versus Swansea City before having a midweek game versus newly relegated and now out of the League Cup Burnley at the Kairos. Like Colin and Mark did, please feel free to email us at eatmorechipspodcast, all one word, at gmail.com, or leave us a comment, query, or question on whichever platform you haunt yourself with. Speaking of haunting, my thanks as always go to these two little terrors of the terraces. So thank you, Daz.
I Will Always Love You. Sorry, I'm just about to name some Dolly Parton songs. I just thought they were appropriate. But Here You Come Again, all of those great songs. She will be, missed. But you're welcome.
I thought you were going to do some Tim Curry songs and say you were a sweet transvestite or something like that. But
that's I can't say that on a Thursday. That's
no, absolutely only. Not. Definitely not. Thank you, Jamie.
My pleasure.
Are you going down tomorrow night or tonight?
I'm working, mate. I'm working tomorrow, Friday, Sunday. So I won't be able to see tomorrow's game or the Birmingham game, unfortunately. So I'll have to catch up on them before next week.
Okay, well, good luck with that. Yeah, no, it's fine. I'm sorry you have to work. And when I'm a multi-millionaire, I will keep all the money for myself and laugh from my mansion as you work yourself to death. Brilliant. So I've been Welshtechie, and until next time. I love him really. Don't think that we.
Hang on. You love me really. Shall we let the viewers and the listeners in on the amazing birthday card that you gave me a couple of weeks ago? In loving sympathy. Brilliant. Cheers, mate. Yeah, thanks very much.
I thought it was apt because you are creeping towards 50 now, so I thought in loving sympathy card would be the right card.
Thanks for that. Yeah. I legit thought you'd give me the wrong card and then a penny drop.
So with that note, I'm Welshtechie, and until next time, come on, Cymru, and come on the town.
Clinton, 4-0. Durkin plays the ball in, and Kieran Durkin, amazingly, has given Wrexham the lead.
Amari Hutchinson facing Arthur Okonkwo. Saved by Okonkwo! These dreams keep getting wilder.
Is it through to Bellamy? Kate Bellamy! It's 2-1 Wales!
And that's it! Wrexham are champions!
Wrexham are the FA Trophy winners 2013. Barker goes in, and Wrexham take the lead. As things stand, Wrexham are champions. And it's cross, great ball, equaliser. Elliot Lee.
The Eat More Chips Podcast.